Additional funding provided by Ranch and Coast, San Diego's luxury lifestyle magazine. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the Del Mar TV Foundation or the City of Del Mar.
Del Mar Hot Topics, where we discuss issues that are important to you. And now your host, Richard Levesque.
We all want the type of downtown where you can walk down the street for an ice cream, maybe get your shoes fixed, buy some groceries. Encinitas did it, Solana Beach did it, Coronado did it. Why is it so hard for Del Mar to do it? Is a logo the beginning? I'm Dr. Richard Levesque and you're watching Hot Topics.
Branding cities is more complex than branding consumer products. Cities like Encinitas and Solana Beach have revived downtown areas by defining a community identity, and Del Mar is on its way with the development of a new trademark.
Topography to the symbol.
But unhelpful mindsets commonly sabotage community branding. Funding and politics must align if the Del Mar Village Association is to successfully guide the revitalization of downtown Del Mar. The logo is the first project in the Main Street program and may provide a measure of how well the community will embrace the goal of stimulating economics while preserving history. Previous attempts at developing a city theme have failed to take hold, and much is at stake for businesses and residents striving for community identity over marketing hype. Can the symbolic Torrey Pine take root and weather storms of resistance or apathy? How will local government support its early growth?
Under the umbrella of the Main Street program, the Del Mar Village Association is working hard to give you, the community, what you say you want, a vibrant downtown district. They have a plan to create a community identity, beginning with a trademark for the city. And you might be surprised at how the community is responding to their efforts. Hot Topics brought in Deputy Mayor Carl Hilliard, liaison to the design committee, and experts behind the design. Laura Parker, a local contractor with 20 years of advertising experience. David Arnold, who has over 40 years experience in marketing and design. And Jeff Hawk from the McCulley Group, who brought the design in multiple forms to life. Laura, why is this really a new beginning?
Well, I think, Richard, I've been involved with the Del Mar Village Association for over 3 years, and when the city endorsed the Main Street program about 6 months ago, it kind of gave us an opportunity to look at everything with a fresh, new approach. And one of the things that we felt we had done were a lot of efforts into promotions and fundraising and events. But one of the things that we felt we really could spend some time on is the design and look of all the revitalization efforts. So I solicited my good friend and ex-DRB colleague David Arnold to help in this endeavor, and the story goes on from there.
So why do we need a logo? How is a logo going to give us this community that we want downtown? How is that going to get us there?
Well, to that, you really don't need a logo. You elect to have one. And it's simple. There's a lot of people that come to our city, a lot of people that commute through our city on a daily basis. We have business owners that enjoy the patronage of outsiders. We have almost 5,000 residents that live here and visit the downtown area. And having a community identity simply is a friendly manner. I mean, physically speaking, when we drive into Del Mar, if you can see a sign there that has our new identity on it, it it offers a instant kind of recognition change. It's not anymore about the street or the highway. You have a sense of entering Del Mar, and you further have a sense of leaving Del Mar. So it puts a kind of a wrapper around our city physically and emotionally and psychologically.
And you know, it's more than just a logo. You know, as we've gone through the process, that's just the beginning. It speaks more to how do you extend the personality of the city, and it talks about color, it talks about other signage applications that we've started to address, it talks about banner systems. So it's really trying to create a personality that reflects the residents and the business community, and I think people's typical perception is it's only an identity or a logo or a graphic representation, but as we've gone through the process, it becomes a lot more than that. So it starts to become a system, kind of a kit of parts that tries to, it kind of connects all the dots, so to speak. So there's a unity. David kind of talked about unifying all of these things so you have a consistent feeling when you enter the city, as you're in the city, and as you leave. There's a lot of these points of contact that are important.
But we've had a logo as an idea to revitalize the downtown before. It never went anywhere. Why is this going to be different?
I don't know if we had a logo really before. I mean, we tried to find some common thread to connect all the dots of everything we were doing for revitalization. But the logo sort of was not necessarily an afterthought, but it wasn't a focus as a foundation of the entire campaign, for lack of a better term. And I think really with David's experience and Jeff's experience, you know, it became very evident that that's where we should start, with the platform of some identity, some community identity that we then branch off, no pun intended, into all the areas of revitalization. And that's really how it should be done.
It gives a visual where sometimes you might start with a master plan for the community that might not be graphically driven or visually driven. It's more organizationally driven. To Laura's point, we took this visual, and that was the starting point. And I really think you'll see it's just the beginning. This identity is born out of that. Are going to be a lot of different elements that speak to you know, the passion of the residents and the business owners, and speak to what really Del Mar is about.
So Carl, what do you think? Is a logo the beginning of something bigger for downtown?
Absolutely. I mean, the logo not only gives a sense of identity, but it helps identify Del Mar beyond the words Del Mar. I gave a PowerPoint presentation to the California League of Cities on Monday, and as the background to my presentation was our new logo. And I think it's a wonderful and an exciting thing.
So you're all convinced that this logo is going to start people thinking about Del Mar as a place with an identity?
Yeah, I think so.
And what does community branding mean, or community identity and branding? What does that mean?
Well, I think, you know, I think branding sometimes is a negative connotation. I think people's perceptions are, you're talking about a product or a service offering, and it's very different when you're talking about community branding. One of the things that we've tried to do in this process is think about, you know, how do you encapsulate the passion and the energy of the community, and really the personality. We started with this notion of a Torrey pine, which we thought was very symbolic of Del Mar, and that was the metaphor that born out of that is this visual manifestation of it's really just a visual perception. So a lot more goes into it. There's a lot of strategy behind it as well that transcends, I think, just the visual of it. So the strategy starts to connect all of those dots and start to tell a story. Essentially, we're trying to begin the storytelling process. Somebody comes into the city of Del Mar. You want to be able to tell them a little about the history and the culture and who they are and where they're going. This visual is really just the beginnings of a storytelling process that as we continue to build on that brand and the strategy, it makes it a little more plausible for people to understand.
David?
In our presentation to the City Council, some of the visual aids that we used were applications of this logo. And we showed, as an example, banners, the type that connect to the utility poles that other cities are using, and we have to some degree here used. We showed applications to city utility trucks and to kiosk and various other applications, so that these are internal applications, so that if we, that's where the identity comes in. If we have a identity for the community that's implemented on the perimeter or of the city, namely the edges of the city with the monuments, then that logo gives a sense of feeling and unity and understanding to those applications that you see further on into the city.
David, let's take a break on that point, and when we come back, we'll talk about community response and community involvement. Stay with us for more Hot Topics. We'll be back in a moment. Thanks.
The Main Street Program's Design Committee is open to anyone who wants to participate. The committee meets at 9 a.m. on the second and fourth Fridays of each month in the City Hall Annex.
Welcome back to Hot Topics. Here with me are Laura Parker, David Arnold, Jeff Hawk, and Carl Hilliard to talk about Del Mar revitalization, Del Mar community identity. Our viewers want to know, what are you going to do to give us the vision that you have? How are we going to create that vision for Del Mar downtown? What is it? What do you see it being if you're successful?
I think it's a multifaceted, as Jeff said earlier, a strategy that we have, where the first part of our strategy is to have the entry monuments installed at both ends of town, plus Jimmy Durante, and then follow that up with a banner program, again showing the logo, kind of doing the bursting of the logo through town as a backup to the entry signs. And then from there, look at our kiosk, look at some of the merchant signage, the city, if they endorse some of the applications to letterhead, city trucks, signage, farmers market. It'll all come together, and it should be a program that just one thing follows another and follows another, and it's subtle, but it has an impact.
And then what will happen next in terms of the commercial district? What's your hope?
Look, where we are is the community in terms of retail sales is in a flat downward spin. Our tax support base from the retail segment is basically your restaurants, and we're losing the other retail establishments that make a community a community. So if you keep on losing retail and shifting over to service type industries that don't pay a sales tax to you, then you've lost the kind of revenue that you need to keep the community going. So change is uncomfortable, and people are saying, well, why should we change? We're happy with the way things are, but things are not going to stay the way they are because we're losing tax revenue from retail merchants.
Now, there's been some criticism that this process that you've been involved with was secretive. If you're going to get the community involved, it's got to be an open kind of forum. Firstly, was it a secretive process?
Well, I can speak to that. There's really no secret. Actually, I heard about that secret part, and one of the local newspapers referred to that we've been working in secret. The creative process, you know, has to do with a certain amount of isolation. You know, you do some thinking and some sketching and some discussion and a lot of discussion and development, and scrap that and try that and move this forward. And so there is that period. And as a member of the design group with the Village Association, it needs to be said that these meetings are clearly open to the public, and we'd like to have more people attend, frankly, and we don't. The members do, but if more people would come, more people would know what we're doing early on.
So, Carl, why do people not get more involved?
Oh, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, this community is rich with very talented people that do get involved. I mean, we have a number of community committees. We have a number of advisory committees, and those people contribute an enormous amount to the city and to its success. So I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is a little bit that for one reason or another, which I think is being addressed, Del Mar Village Association's events were not on the community calendar. So people that were looking to the community calendar to tell you what's going on and where didn't find it.
Why were they not on the community calendar?
Well, we're getting to it, but the community calendar is not run by the city, and the understanding or misunderstanding was that the Del Mar Village Association was a service organization like your Rotary and Kiwanis, and it's not. It's in league with the city, it works with the city, it is a follow-on from the old Redevelopment Advisory Committee, and it should be treated, and I believe will be treated, like any other advisory committee when it comes to this process.
So are you telling the community that this was not a secretive process? Is that just an error?
It was not a secret process. I attended one workshop. The design was shown at the workshop that I attended, and I think that it was very open to people that came to the Del Mar Village Association and said, what are you doing? I mean, the Del Mar Village Association has been in the news about the Main Street program, how they're going forward, what they're doing with the community for some period of time. The fact that it wasn't on the community calendar is a problem, and I think that's going to be resolved.
You know, I think it's important that the creative process, and David referenced it earlier, is our job and our responsibility is to listen to what people have to say. But design by committee can be dangerous. I mean, design is a subjective process. Art's a subjective process. Our job is to listen to what they have to say, and based on our expertise as consultants, deliver something that best represents what we feel their intentions are. So it's tough to sit down and look at, especially when you look at a community, you want to listen, but you need to make some decisions as an expert in the industry and put your best foot forward. And the expectation is that it's in the best interest from a visual standpoint and from the organization of the community.
So did you get input from the community?
Well, the makeup of the Del Mar Village Association is comprised of residents, commercial business owners, and merchants. And we, as part of our purview, have those representatives at those meetings. Mm-hmm. And we even have city council liaison, like Carl's in our meeting, Jerry Fennell's been in our meetings. So, and they're open to the public, and they're twice a month. So it's a very open process.
Let's take another break. When we get back, let's talk about how we can get things done. Back in a moment. You're watching Hot Topics.
The board for the Main Street program meets at 8:45 a.m. on the fourth Thursday of each month in the City Hall Annex. Everyone with an interest in Del Mar's revitalization is welcome.
Welcome back to Hot Topics. We're here with Laura Parker, David Arnold, Carl Hilliard, and Jeff Hawk. Why did the logo go before the City Council if the DRB is the arbiter of design?
Oh, the DRB is, by our code, not charged with the obligation or the responsibility for reviewing items such as the logo. It's within its charter. It reviews design of homes and signs and things of that kind. Laura, maybe you and Dave would like to speak to more.
So why did the City Council then push the decision onto the Design Review Board rather than having the courage to say, this is great, let's do it?
Oh, but that's what the council said.
So then why not just accept it?
I think the council did accept it. What the council was responding to were some people that felt that the process required going through the Design Review Board. In fact, the code does not require us to go through Design Review Board.
So they were mistaken.
Well, the people that were pushing the process were mistaken in terms of the code, but in terms of the process in Del Mar, we do by tradition have a process of having community involvement and community input. And it's a little hard sometimes for some people to come down and do that in the 3 minutes allocated before the council and under the constraints of being in front of the camera. They would prefer a more town hall type setting, and that's been a tradition that we've followed.
But Carl, the community's been involved through the Village Association.
Well, Richard, that's what's so funny to us is, you know, there are all these allegations of us doing things in secrecy, not following the correct process. And in fact, we were continually advised by the city on how to do this. And the advice that we received was to go to council with the logo, at the same time have an application to the Design Review Board, which was co-applied with the city, and the logo would be approved by council, and then the application of the logo to the monuments, to whatever else we present, would be the purview of design review. So it kind of came out of left field for us to see the comments and the allegations, because it certainly wasn't our intent, and we thought we were following the process as set forth by the city.
And you were.
And we were. So.
And I think you did an admirable job, and the presentation was excellent. And the city council approved the logo. Now, it did so, but it gave, I won't say a tip of the hat, but it gave some room for the people that said, wait a minute, there's a process here. It's not about the logo, it's about the process. And the process requires that we have more community input into this thing.
But is that not a problem in Del Mar? We all know what we want in Del Mar. We want a vibrant downtown community. We can't seem to get it. Other people do it. Is it a problem that the city council is so fearful of criticism that they just postpone things till all the criticism peters out? Is that what we're going to do with this?
Well, there's an element of analysis, by paralysis by analysis, but we're going forward. This project's moving forward. Main Street's moving forward.
We'll take your word for that.
It is. And we have people like Laura, and I could go on and naming people that are involved and moving that forward.
Now, have you worked with other cities developing this community identity? Have you done this for other cities?
Not cities per se, but over the years, I've worked for a lot of developers who have developed cities that have, or communities that have, 50,000 people in them. And I'm looking back in the early 70s, I was commissioned by a company called the Christiana Companies, which developed Tierra Santa.
Now, is Del Mar a tough sell? Have you found
that remains to be seen. I don't think so. I mean, I think the Del Mar is a very concerned community. I think the aesthetic level is very high here. And that's part of the reason why things move slowly. It's because people want to have it right. That's why the DRB struggles a lot, because people want to have it right. Same thing with this effort that we're doing here, and we're as the authors, I guess, are hopeful that the aesthetics of this particular effort will shine through and be accepted by the community. But just to follow on Carl's, just to reiterate here, but in case made real clear, the Design Review Board has what they call the Design Review Ordinances, the DRO, and those don't have anything to do with aesthetics. The DRO it can't make judgments about whether they like the way a sign looks.
So the city council's approval means that we'll probably get the logo.
But the logo's
a done deal.
I mean, the words are that it's been provisionally approved, but you heard all of the city council members say this is a classic logo. It speaks exactly what we want to speak to the community. Nobody spoke in opposition to it. No, the issue was about the process. Had nothing to do with the logo.
So the only thing, though, that comes up is, David and I were both on the DRB for 4 years, and to follow up on maybe your point, when Merrill Lynch came into town and we looked at their signage on the building on Camino Del Mar, we didn't have the option to say, you know, we don't like the bull. I think you should change that to a bear and change their logo. We could look at how it was applied. We could look at the lighting, the size, the color.
Right.
But so we're a little confused. And when we came out of the council meeting, okay, did they approve the logo, or is the design review board now going to say we need to change the logo for whatever reason? And is that really within their and I don't think it is.
Your example is exactly correct. The design review board will take a look at the sign that's been proposed. They will look at the Black River Rock element of it. They'll look at the name element, and they'll look at the logo. Now, they may say, you know, we don't think that the logo is too big for the sign, but they're not going to be changing the logo.
But don't you think, though, that during the council meeting, it became apparent that there was some potential for tweaking the logo at design review?
No.
That was the takeaway.
The logo will not be tweaked.
And that's your comment.
Will not be changed.
I'm just saying that there was a perception of others that the design review board would then...
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. At the time you get to the design review board, the application is going to be co-sponsored by the DMVA and the city. The design review board is going to be told that the council has provisionally approved the logo. We're not asking you to approve that logo. We're asking you to approve or consider approving the sign. Now,
again, I'm just saying that I think the public perception of that might be a little bit gray in how the council had a secondary motion on the approval of the logo. So
I think you're right, and that was one of the reasons.
That's, I think, Richard's point.
You kept hearing me speak up and say, well, let me see if I understand what we're doing here today, and then I would make the statement that we've approved the logo, and we certainly would not discourage input from the design review board, but we're going forward with it, and everybody said yes. And you heard every single member of the council say this is a wonderful job.
This is a great place for us to stop. We have to stop. It is exciting to know that we are moving forward. Thank you all for joining us. Laura Parker, David Arnold, Carl Hilliard, and Jeff Hawk. Thank you for joining us for Hot Topics. Next week we'll talk about the Torrey Pines Bridge, a bridge too far. Join us next week. I'm your host, Dr. Richard Levesque. Goodbye.